Hey everyone, welcome back. It is now March 6th of 2020, and ever since the release of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, a lot of fans around the world have been very intrigued about the future of the Star Wars franchise and exactly how it's going to be handled by Disney and Lucasfilm. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing that we do know about the future of Star Wars is that Disney and Lucasfilm are currently developing a ton of series for Disney Plus, as well as movies for theatrical releases, and also the new Disney CEO, Bob Chapek. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there have heard about him. He took over Bob Iger's role a couple of days ago as he makes a slow transition to taking over Disney. And what's really intriguing is that Star Wars and Marvel are going under major changes after Bob Chapek took over as the new Disney CEO. Now, the good thing about this is that when you look at Bob Chapek, obviously, now the fact that we have a new CEO, things are going to be run differently over at Lucasfilm because Disney owns Lucasfilm. And at the end of the day, when you think about it in this way, Star Wars really needs to be fixed on many different levels. Some of you out there may very well agree with me on that or disagree with me on that. That's perfectly fine and all. However, what's really intriguing is, of course, what Bob Chapek has planned for the future and what already has happened behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm and Disney for the Star Wars franchise, and also how it is as a brand and what it's going to be like in the near future. Now, on top of all of this, what's really intriguing is that now that both Disney and Lucasfilm are finished with The Rise of Skywalker, they are focused on their new Star Wars trilogy of films, also known as their new Star Wars universe. It's explained that both Disney and Lucasfilm have a plan in place to reunite the fans around the world in order to create a better future for Star Wars. It's noted that the new CEO of Disney, Bob Chapek, is making some major changes over at Lucasfilm to satisfy the hardcore fans around the world, where one of the major changes by the new Disney CEO is that he is canceling many of Kathleen Kennedy's projects for the future of the Star Wars franchise, where it's explained that one of those projects for Disney Plus is that Kathleen Kennedy was developing a brand new era that would take place some years after the High Republic era, that would serve as a small gap in between the High Republic and the prequel trilogy era. It's explained that this era created by Kathleen Kennedy was going to introduce the transition of how the Jedi were during the High Republic into how they became during the prequel trilogy films for Star Wars. It's noted that Bob Chapek canceled this project as they want to focus on one era at a time to see how it works with fans and how they accept instead of moving ahead of themselves too fast with new eras to close to each other or in between to tell new stories of the Jedi. Bob Chapek is also said to be carrying out a couple of promises in order for Bob Iger's plans to actually come into fruition for Star Wars in general as we speak for the future of the franchise. So the thing about Bob Chapek that I like about him so much so far is that a lot of Kathleen Kennedy's ideas are being put to the wayside since she no longer has creative control over these new Star Wars projects, which really is quite something. It really is something to look forward to. The fact that Kathleen Kennedy's power has been stripped down, has been reduced to what it was when she was, with The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker. So, moving on to new eras this fast is definitely a big mistake that was thankfully dodged by Bob Chapek. He put that to the wayside real fast in order to focus on one era at a time until it's fully developed. Not to go ahead of themselves and not to rush themselves, which is exactly what Kathleen Kennedy did with The Rise of Skywalker. You guys may very well know that with The Rise of Skywalker, Kathleen Kennedy really rushed the production of Episode 9 in order to get things done, and also as a way in order to really get things done on schedule because they had far less time to film that movie in comparison to The Force Awakens. So, like I say, Bob Chapek, it really seems like he's more competent, as a leader over at Disney than Bob Iger. Bob Iger would have never done this, it seems. It seems like that Bob Iger really could have, if he wanted to, cancel a lot of these projects. But now that Bob Chapek has a different vision for what Star Wars should and can be in order to gain more revenue, I think that this is a man that truly understands that there are a lot of unhappy fans out there and that it's not just a minority. It is quite a number of Star Wars fans that have a lot of issues with exactly how the Star Wars brand is actually, going into the future, exactly what's happening with it as we speak. So the one thing that I do want to actually bring up here is that Kathleen Kennedy, you guys may very well be aware, is that she was the one responsible for a lot of the scenes being deleted from The Rise of Skywalker, changing out a lot of scenes, putting new ones in, deleting a majority of George Lucas's scenes that he directed and wrote for Episode 9 with J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio. So you can see what they were trying to do is that they were trying to come up with something very unique for Episode 9, and Kathleen Kennedy really interrupted that. And I think Bob Chapek is a man who realizes that she really does create quite, a lot of problems within Lucasfilm, and obviously that is going to be a big deal if that was actually left untreated. So with that being said, guys, like I say, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.